Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down Chapter 183, Squadron Leader Karoo.
And what a title it is. We knew he was the leader of the super spot-build duck squad, but this chapter gives him the respect he deserves. It's not just a cute name for a group of animal companions, it's a military rank bestowed in a moment of crisis.
It really is. It's like Oda is looking right at us and saying, you thought he was just the funny bird? No, he is a commander. He earns that title in blood, sweat, and feathers in this chapter. But as much as I love our favorite duck, the moment for me, the moment that defines this whole chapter and sets the stage for one of the best fights in the arc is one line. I'm not Mr. Prince. Chills, just absolute chills.
It's a thesis statement for Sanji's entire role in Alabasta. He's been the chess master, operating in the shadows under a code name, manipulating Baroque works from behind the scenes. That line signifies the end of that phase.
Exactly. The strategy phase is over. Sanji has entered the brawl. He's done being the ghost in the machine. Now he's the foot crashing through the door. It's the payoff for dozens of chapters of buildup of him being 2 steps ahead of Crocodile, and now he's standing there ready to handle business face to face.
He's shedding a persona to reveal his true strength. It's a perfect thematic clash for his opponent, Bon Kurei, whose entire fighting style is built around stealing personas. One fighter who uses faces as a weapon, and another who is about to prove the power of being unapologetically himself.
Absolutely. It's identity versus stolen identity. I love it. And if you believe every Straw Hat deserves their moment to throw down and declare who they are, make sure you're following the show. We're covering every single one of these iconic entrances as they happen. And believe me, we are just getting started.
Let's start at the beginning of the chapter, though, with a flashback that's both hilarious and, when you break it down, incredibly clever.
Right. The crew is trying to figure out how to deal with Bon Kurei's shape-shifting. They just saw him mimic King Cobra perfectly. They know he can become any one of them. The paranoia is setting in. How do you trust the person standing next to you? Luffy, of course, suggests they just come up with a secret pose only they know.
Which is a very Luffy solution. Theatrical, simple, and utterly useless against a man who can perfectly replicate your body and would therefore know the pose.
So useless. Vivi points out he'd just copy the pose. Nami is panicking. They're all trying to come up with complicated passwords or questions. But that takes time. In a fight, you don't have time to ask, what was the first meal Sanji cooked for us? And then, who comes up with the perfect, simple, elegant solution?
Zoro, of all people. Just put an X on your arm and cover it with a bandage. No one else will know it's there. It's something you don't say or do. It's a piece of hidden knowledge. To prove you're one of them, you just have to show the mark.
It's so good. It's something you can't see. You have to know it's there. It's brilliant in its simplicity. But the best part, the absolute peak of character writing in this scene, is Sanji's immediate reaction. He doesn't go, wow, great idea, Zoro. He's instantly suspicious that Zoro, the guy who gets lost walking in a straight line, the man whose sense of direction is a cosmic joke, came up with a smart plan.
He cannot compute it. Zoro's role in the crew dynamic, in Sanji's mind, is the muscle-headed swordsman. For him to suddenly exhibit tactical brilliance is so out of character that Sanji's brain immediately jumps to the most logical conclusion. That's not Zoro.
He's pointing, he's accusing. He's like, that's him, that's the Okama. A plan that smart could never come out of this mosshead's mouth. It's a perfect character moment. Sanji's paranoia and his rivalry with Zoro all wrapped up in one. He knows Zoro so well that Zoro being smart is the ultimate tell that something is wrong.
It's the ultimate backhanded compliment. You are so profoundly dumb that your intelligence is proof of your own falsity. And the rest of the crew sees his logic. Nami and Yusub are looking at Zoro with suspicion too. It's only Vivi, who hasn't been around them as long, who's confused by the reaction.
And Zoro's response is the ultimate confirmation. He doesn't try to reason with them. He doesn't say, guys, it's me, I just had a moment of clarity. He just gets veins popping on his forehead and screams that he's gonna cut Sanji to pieces for doubting him. And everyone goes, okay, it's the real Zoro. That's their bond. That's the trust they have. It's not about being nice. It's about knowing exactly who the other person is, down to their dumbest insults.
It's their baseline. That level of belligerent affection proves identity more than any secret password could. A stranger trying to imitate Zoro might try to be stoic or cool. Only the real Zoro would react to a good idea being acknowledged with the threat of triple-bladed murder. It's also Oda showing us the solution before the problem fully manifests. A classic bit of Chekhov's gun storytelling. We, the audience, are in on the secret. We know the trick.
Exactly. We know the trick. We saw them all make the mark and swear their friendship on it. Now we just have to see when it pays off. It's such a beautiful little moment of crew chemistry. But from that little moment, we jump right back into absolute heart-pounding desperation.
We're back with Vivi and Karoo is looking rough. The way Oda draws him here is just painful. His eyes are half closed, he's panting, feathers are ruffled, he's covered in scrapes. He's clearly been running for a very long time, half dead on his feet, with Bon Kurei right behind them, looking completely fresh and having the time of his life.
And they hit a dead end, a sheer cliff face. It's a wall. There's nowhere to go. It looks like it's over. Bon Kurei is taunting them from behind, and then Karoo just starts running up it. He just goes. He doesn't hesitate. He sees the impossible obstacle, and his only thought is, I have to get the princess over it.
The loyalty of that duck is staggering. We've seen him be cowardly before. He's often used for comic relief, the frightened animal companion. But here, all of that is stripped away. This is pure, distilled devotion. He is pushing his body beyond any reasonable limit for Vivi. It's pure willpower, conquering physics.
He's running so fast, he's basically defying gravity. Oda draws these incredible speed lines, the little puffs of smoke coming off his feet as they scramble for purchase on a vertical surface. It's not played as a gag. It's drawn like a serious, desperate feat of strength. And he almost makes it. He gets to the top, his feet slip on the precipice, and for a second, you think they're both gonna fall. My heart was in my throat. Bon Kurei is just laughing from the bottom, this cruel, mocking laughter.
But then, Karoo does something we've never seen him do. Something that, by all biological accounts, he should not be able to do. He flaps his tiny, stubby wings, and he flies. Just for a second, just a few feet. Just enough to get them over the ledge to safety.
It's not a gag. I want to be so clear about this. This isn't like a Wile E. Coyote cartoon where he suddenly remembers he can fly. This was a burst of pure adrenaline and love for his princess that let him do the impossible for 2 seconds. That is Straw Hat energy right there. That's Luffy climbing a frozen tower with 2 people on his back. That's Zoro taking on the best swordsman in the world when he's hopelessly outmatched. Karoo is an honorary member for life. You can't tell me otherwise.
It's a recurring theme in the series, as you said. Characters pushing past their known limits, not for a power-up, but for someone else. It isn't a permanent change. It's a momentary miracle born of desperation and love. A perfect, beautiful One Piece moment. But the moment of relief, that gasp of air when they clear the ledge, is very short-lived.
Yeah, because Vivi looks down, probably to gloat just a little, and Bon Kurei is just running up the cliff himself, effortlessly. He's doing it with balletic grace, yelling that there's nothing an Okama can't do. The shock on Vivi's face is priceless. It's this perfect comedic beat that's also terrifying.
It completely negates Karoo's incredible feat. What was a moment of impossible life-or-death strength for Karoo is just another Tuesday for Bon Kurei and the Okama Kenpo. It reestablishes the threat immediately and in a devastating way. It says, your absolute best, the peak of your physical and emotional limit, is my warm-up.
So they have no choice. They're on the run again. Vivi tells Karoo they have to cut through the battlefield, the massive civil war raging in the streets of Alubarna. It's their only path forward to the palace. She knows it's a suicide run, but it's the only option left.
And this is where it gets truly heartbreaking. Oda draws this wide panel of the chaos. We see the royal army and the rebel army clashing, swords and guns everywhere. It's a meat grinder. And Vivi and Karoo are just trying to weave through it. They aren't participants. They're just trying to get through the storm of violence that Vivi is trying to stop. And in that chaos, a stray bullet hits Karoo.
It's brutal. It's so unceremonious. He doesn't get a big fight. He just gets hit by a random piece of shrapnel from the war. He just collapses. After everything he just did, that impossible climb, the moment of flight, he gets taken down by a nameless, faceless bullet. He's in so much pain, but he's still telling Vivi to go on without him with these little weak quacks.
He fulfilled his duty. He got her this far. He crossed the desert. He climbed the cliff. Even lying there, bleeding, his only thought is her mission. It's the ultimate expression of a royal guard's duty. His life for hers.
And Bon Kurei is closing in. He's sauntering up, not even out of breath. He's got this sadistic look on his face. It feels like this is really it. This is where Vivi's run comes to an end, just meters away from her goal, with her best friend bleeding out on the ground.
But then we hear quacking, a single defiant quack from off-panel, and then another, and another.
The super spot build Duck Squad, they come charging in out of nowhere, a V formation of pure feathered fury, and just slam into Bon Kurei, headbutting him into a wall. The cavalry has arrived. Squadron Leader Karoo's troops have come to save him.
It's a fantastic entrance. The troops coming to save their commander and their princess. It's a perfectly structured rescue, giving us that moment of absolute despair before the hope arrives.
And then the man himself steps out of the dust cloud. The architect, Mr. Prince, Sanji, is here. And he's so cool. He doesn't even look at Bon Kurei crumpled in the wall. He just looks at the ducks.
He's so calm. He just tells the ducks they did a good job and that they can go now. He asks Vivi if she's okay, his voice steady. He's the island of calm in the middle of this hurricane of chaos and emotion.
And Vivi, even in that moment, her first thought is for Karoo. She tells them to take care of him. She knows her part of the job isn't over. Sanji just tells her to go. He's got this. There's so much unspoken trust in that simple exchange. He's not asking what happened. He's not asking who the guy is. He just sees the situation and understands. He's there to clear the path.
It's a perfect handoff. He ran the intelligence operation, got everyone into position, lured Crocodile away from the capital, and now he's stepping in personally to handle the last obstacle in her path so she can get to the palace. The strategist becomes the warrior.
Bon Kurei is furious. He's been made a fool of. This Mr. Prince has been a thorn in his side, and now a bunch of ducks just smashed him into a building. He just launched himself at Sanji, screaming for him to die, with this wild flying kick.
But Sanji just casually blocks the kick with one of his own. No wasted movement, no strain on his face. He just raises his leg and stops Bon Kurei's momentum cold. He's completely in control. The power dynamic has shifted in an instant.
And he says the coldest line, "Give my sniper's goggles back." He knows. He hasn't seen Usopp, he hasn't talked to him, but he sees the goggles on Bon Kurei's head and he puts it all together. He knows Bon Kurei took out Usopp earlier to get that disguise. He's not just fighting for Vivi, he's avenging his crewmate. That's Sanji. He's always looking out for the crew.
Bon Kurei seems to finally put the pieces together. He recognizes the strategic mind he's been up against. He asks if Sanji is the Mr. Prince he's been hearing about, the one who's been thwarting all their plans.
This is the moment. This is the whole chapter for me. Sanji's glasses fall off. They clatter to the ground. The disguise, the Mr. Prince persona, is literally cast aside, and he says it. "I'm not Mr. Prince." The smoke clears, the dust settles, and he reintroduces himself. He's the first-rate cook of the sea, Sanji.
It's a declaration of identity. He's casting off the code name because the time for subterfuge is over. He's not just fighting as a mysterious agent anymore. He's fighting as himself, a straw hat pirate. It's so important for his character. He's not just the cook. He is a warrior, a core part of this crew's fighting strength, and he's claiming that identity right here.
And it's so powerful. Bon Kurei tries to play on the same level, puffing out his chest and saying he's a first-rate Okama. He tells Sanji a cook has no business fighting a secret organization, trying to put him back in a box. You're just a chef. Stay in your lane.
which is such a bad read of the situation. It's the classic villain mistake in One Piece, underestimating a Straw Hat based on their role or their appearance. He has no idea who he's talking to.
Sanji's comeback is perfect. It's so smart, and it cuts right to the core of Bon Kurei's own identity. He says he's a cook and a pirate. His identity is multifaceted, so that logic applies to Bon Kurei too. And Okama has no business being in a secret organization. He's turning Bon Kurei's whole worldview back on him, basically saying, if you're going to define me by one thing, then I'm going to define you by one thing. How does it feel?
It's a brilliant piece of verbal sparring before the physical fight begins. Sanji is deconstructing his opponent's logic. He's refusing to fight on Bon Kurei's terms. He establishes that their professions or identities don't matter here. What matters is their actions. And he ends with a simple command: leave this country. It's not a request. It's the setup for the fight. The stakes are clear. Sanji is fighting for his friend's home.
I love this so much. It's the payoff for Sanji being the strategist for this entire arc. He's been 5 steps ahead of Crocodile this whole time, calling him from the payphone, setting up Chopper to create a distraction, getting the crew to the city, and now he's here to do the dirty work himself. It's not just about being strong, it's about being smart, and now he's about to show he's both. Super.
It's a great transition from the strategic phase of the war to the personal battles. And while Sanji is having his heroic cool-as-ice moment, we cut to the southeast gate of Alubarna, where things are significantly weirder.
Yeah, a lot weirder. And I mean a lot weirder. Usopp arrives and finds Chopper, and Chopper is hurt. He's leaning against a pillar, clutching his arm. Not terribly injured, but he's clearly lost his fight. He's been neutralized.
And he immediately tries to warn Usopp, but the explanation he gives is just pure panic and confusion. It's the rambling of someone who has just fought something that makes no logical sense.
It's amazing. It's one of my favorite introductions to villain pairs. He says the enemy is underground. Miss Merry Christmas is a devil fruit user, the Mogu Mogu no Mi, the mole fruit. So she's a mole. Okay, weird, but fine. We've seen weirder fruits. But then he says her partner, Mr. 4, is a 4th batter with a dog.
And Usopp's reaction is all of us reading this for the first time. What does that even mean? A 4th batter? Is that a baseball reference? Why is that a threat? Is he just really good at hitting things? What does the dog do?
Before he can even process it, a stone pillar next to them just collapsed into rubble. But no one was there. There was no attack. Chopper just says they're underground. The threat is literally beneath their feet. The battlefield itself is the enemy's weapon.
This is a terrible matchup for Chopper. Think about it. His usual fighting style involves direct physical confrontation. He uses his different points to gain speed, power, or defense. He can't punch the ground and hope to win. Miss Merry Christmas completely controls the battlefield, and he has no way to engage her.
And then it gets even stranger. We hear a bark. A baseball comes flying out of a hole in the ground that just appeared. Chopper, who knows what's coming, yells at Usopp to dodge.
And out of another hole pops Mr. 4. He's this huge, slow-moving man who says everything in a monotone drawl. He steps up like he's at home plate and hits the ball with a massive metal bat. He sends it flying right at Usopp with incredible precision.
But this is the part that's just nightmare fuel. This is where it goes from weird to terrifying. The ball is ticking. It's a bomb. It flies right up to Usopp's nose. Oda gives us this perfect panel of Usopp's terrified face, eyes bulging, with the ball just an inch from his nose, and it explodes, point blank.
It's an absolutely brutal opening attack. Usopp has no time to react, no idea what he's even up against. He just walked into a perfectly executed trap from an enemy he couldn't see and didn't understand.
Okay, so let's break this down because it took me a second to get it. The dog... I think the dog is the cannon. It seems to be some kind of dog gun, like maybe it's a gun that somehow ate a devil fruit. It sneezes out the bomb balls. Mr. 4, the big slow guy, is the one who hits them with pinpoint accuracy, and Miss Merry Christmas, the mole, is creating the tunnels for them to pop out of anywhere on the battlefield.
It's a 3-part living artillery system. The dog is the weapon, Mr. 4 is the targeting system, and Miss Merry Christmas is the mobile deployment unit. It's one of the most bizarre and complex fighting styles we've seen so far.
That is terrifying. How are you supposed to fight that? They can attack from any angle at any time with explosive force. You can't run because they can tunnel ahead of you. You can't hide because they can pop up right next to you. Chopper's strength is useless, and Usopp just got a bomb to the face. The chapter ends right there, with the explosion. Cliffhanger.
It's a tactical fight, a puzzle. This isn't a battle that can be won by overwhelming power. Zoro would be frustrated. Sanji would have trouble landing a kick. Luffy would probably try to eat the bomb. It's about figuring out how to dismantle a complex system where each part protects the others.
You can't get to Miss Merry Christmas because she's underground. You can't get to Mr. 4 because he's slow but hits with incredible power. It's a nightmare.
You know, now that you lay it out like that, this feels like a fight designed specifically for Usopp. It's too weird and complicated for a straight-up brawler. This requires tricks, ingenuity, outthinking the opponent, and maybe a little bit of cowardice to stay alive long enough to figure it out.
Exactly. Chopper was the wrong opponent for this puzzle. His straightforward power was easily countered. Now Usopp is here, and while he's just been blown up, he's the one with the mindset to potentially counter this. He's a sniper, a trickster, and an inventor. If anyone can figure out a way to dismantle this bizarre system, it's him. If he survives the initial blast, that is.
And speaking of weirdness, Oda's author comment this week is a trip.
Oh? What did he have to say?
He said that during Golden Week, which is a big holiday week in Japan, he got together with his mangaka buddies and they discussed the Koizumi cabinet.
The Prime Minister of Japan at the time? Junichiro Koizumi? That sounds incredibly serious for a group of mangaka. I'm picturing them all sitting around with tea, seriously debating economic policy and foreign relations.
For about 10 minutes. Then they got bored and moved on.
Okay, that sounds much more like a group of manga artists hanging out. A brief nod to the real world and then presumably back to arguing about superpowers, tournament arcs, and who would win in a fight. It's such a perfect Oda detail.
You just know it. It's like, yes, we are aware of politics. Anyway, I have to go draw a mole lady and a dog that is also a cannon. A perfect little Odaism to cap off a chapter that's all over the place in the best way.
From heartfelt crew goodbyes with the X marks to impossible feats of avian strength to a full-blown heroic entrance and ending on an exploding baseball.
It really covers all the bases, no pun intended. This arc is firing on all cylinders. Every single Straw Hat is getting a moment to shine and a fight that feels tailor-made for their specific skills and personality. We have Zoro versus Mr. 1, a battle of blades, and now Sanji versus Bon Kurei, a battle of legs and identity, and Usopp and Chopper versus this tactical nightmare. It's perfect.
If you've got a theory about how Usopp is going to get out of this exploding baseball situation, drop it in the comments. We'd love to see what you're thinking. Does he have a trick up his sleeve we haven't seen yet? My predictions for next chapter. First, Sanji versus Bon Kurei. It's going to be a battle of kicks. The black leg style versus the Okama Kenpo ballet. We're going to see some incredible choreography. And Sanji's going to have to deal with Bon Kurei trying to use his friends' faces against him, maybe turning into Nami. But it's not going to work because Sanji's too focused. He knows the real Nami isn't there. He's going to say something cool like, Nami Swan's kicks are filled with love, not malice, and then kick him in the face.
My first prediction is that we're not going to see the conclusion of that fight. Oda will give us the opening clash, show us the unique challenge Bon Kurei's style presents, and then he'll cut away. My bet is we check in on Nami. She was last seen running off on her own. It's time to see who her Baroque Works opponent is going to be. He likes to get all the chess pieces on the board before he starts resolving the matches. I suspect she'll run into Miss Doublefinger.
Good call. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, my second prediction. For Usopp and Chopper, Usopp is going to survive that blast. Maybe his big nose took the brunklet. Who knows? It's acted as a cushion before. And his first move will be pure panic. He'll run, but then he'll realize he can't outrun them. His first real move will be to use his own slingshot to try and intercept the baseball's mid-air. A battle of sharpshooters. Mr. 4's brute force accuracy versus Usopp's tricky, calculated shots.
My second prediction for that fight is that Chopper is going to take on a defensive role. He has seen their attack pattern. He'll use Guard Point, his big fluffy defensive form, to absorb the explosions, protecting Usopp while Usopp works on a strategy. Usopp will realize they can't fight all three components at once. Their first target has to be the dog gun. They need to neutralize the weapon itself. It will have to be a team effort, with Chopper as the shield and Usopp as the brain.
Ooh, I like that. The brains and the fur. That's a solid combo. All right, that's all the time we have for today. This has been Inherited Dawn.
Join us next time as we continue our journey through Alabasta. The final battles have begun.
Don't miss it. Super!